Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome, and welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness. My ears were popping. Let's talk a little bit about the energies, and then I'm just going to roll into a channeling that I do by dropping into my heart, expanding into my higher consciousness, becoming more aware of the energies and frequencies that maybe we can't see, that are all around us, such as our angels and our guides. I call them my higher guidance team. And I'll do that in just a minute and kind of bring through whatever they have to share, which is technically they as a higher vibration of us, right? Something that exists in another dimensional space that we just we have access to, but we don't always utilize those energies or waveforms. Okay, boy, I just went into, I'm just going to drop into flow. I had things I wanted to share as far as synchronicities go. Um, and maybe that'll come up as we go into flow. Sometimes my nose runs when I do this too. It itches, or I might cough or yawn to move the energy. I tend to rock a little bit sometimes. Here we go. So as we move energy, we shift it. We shift its form from one form into another. For example, a yawn is an expression, a letting out of air, if you will, allowing for an increase of oxygenation into the body. When we move through our digestive stages, for example, like burp, the energy shifts from trapped gas, we'll say, into an expression or expulsion of that energy. Now, what we are bringing this up or focusing on this for a moment before we go into the full message, because many of us think that tuning into the higher versions of ourselves or the angels or the galactics, so on and so forth, the ascended masters, our guidance team, is all sunshine and rainbows. But the physical body, in many instances, not all, but in many instances, will have to go through certain levels of upgrading. And this is where many of us are at currently. We are always in the process of upgrading, one might say. But right now, there is an express purpose, an express. I'm seeing like a railroad, I'm seeing like fast, an expressway being built, if you will, in the bodies of the humans. And you are built for this. It is as if you are a computer system that is upgrading, yet it was already built with the upgrades. It only needs to access certain portals in order to access and initiate the upgrade process. And we have been going through a consistent barrage, if you will, of portals and activations, and this will continue. And do not worry if you are not sure if you hit these portals or received these activations. You can receive them and initiate your own process at any time. Yet some, it is time, and the process has been initiated. And it may not seem as if they have chosen this, yet they have made this choice pre-birth, one might say, or they made this choice in another lifetime, pre-lifetime, we could call it. We are also recognizing that many people have asked for help, and it doesn't always show up and look the way they asked for it or expected it to show up, or doesn't always show up when they asked for it, or it doesn't show up at all in the same way that they think it should. So we are all going through this, and it can be quite cumbersome at times to be upgrading and to have these. I'm being shown knowingness, awareness of another dimension, awareness of what we really want. We feel like it's right around the corner, but it's not here yet. So what I'm hearing is two things. I did a video the other day, I was talking about the buffer zone, and now I'm hearing that I'm hearing a lot of different things. So let me just tune back in. Let us just say a time lapse is involved, and some of us are moving faster than our bodies are able to keep up. And in other cases, our bodies are able to keep up just fine, but we are clogged down by the mind. And in other cases, it's in the middle and both are activating and you're moving along just fine. And in other cases, both are clogged up, the body and the mind. And so we would invite you to find new ways in which to interact in new ways, in which to interact in new ways, in which to interact in all ways. So we play with this in a variety of ways, in a myriad of ways, in a plethora of ways, but also always, infinitely. For you are not ever stopped in the sense of time, meaning in this reality, you are interacting with time in a particular way, and you have it as a way in which to compare and contrast before and after, you might say. So we would invite you to play and then compare and contrast how you feel now versus how you felt before. We invite you to explore different areas of interest, things that make you, I'm seeing light you up, and play. Compare and contrast how you felt at the beginning of the day versus how you feel after you play. And we are bringing this up in this funny sing-song way, as we always do, because it is a way to get you to play with language. It is a way to get you to play with listening and sound. And it is a higher vibration of expression. Poem and poetry and that type of format tend to lend, if you will, your ear to a more playful and, I'm hearing, rhythmic sense. Through those rhythms, it allows you to sense more. I'm not sure if my microphone is working actually, but hopefully you can hear me. Ah, my old technology. Oh, that's kind of funny because we're talking about old technology. So I'm going back and forth. So the body we'll play with is the old technology, one might say. And as you go through upgrades, it takes lag time is what the word I was trying to feel into earlier. It feels as if you are not able to respond as quickly as you could. And this is oftentimes true. For many of us are not used to this barrage of frequencies and inbound signals that we are all receiving, transcribing, transmitting, processing, etc., etc. So we are in the process of upgrading how we read these signals. And in this, we are oftentimes bombarded with these energies, which can oftentimes slow us down, make us feel bombarded, lethargic, and I'm going to play with this. They're saying like a loser, but there's the play on words. Let me see. Dumb and Dumber, loser, loser. But what I'm being shown is that this is a play on words. Like oftentimes we feel like I've got to win. I've got to be first. I've got to do this before the other person does. Oh my gosh, that person got there before I did. And now I'm behind, right? And you guys, I do this also. And they're saying slow and easy wins the race, the tortoise and the hare. It's a little bit of that going on. Otherwise, what I'm seeing is, and I'm hearing the word tortoise and hare solar flare. And this in part has to do with this is literally about the solar flares. This is literally about the changes that are going on the earth. What happens is when we can't outrun this stuff. We have to go through and allow ourselves to process whatever that is, right? Whatever that is that we're processing. And if we try to skip it and skip ahead, we're really not going to get there any faster, is what they're saying. In fact, we'll most likely burn out, or we will end up kind of missing some things along the way, right? And so as you upgrade in the physical form, there will be certain things in certain bodies that take longer to upgrade. Sometimes the lymphatic system needs extra attention. I have a feeling like that's a message for me. Sometimes that takes more time to drain, if you will, and this can cause us to feel more drained. Sometimes it takes more of our system to I'm seeing, oh, it's like we're overstimulated. So it can burn out our adrenals, or I'm hearing adrenal fatigue. A lot of thyroid issues right now. Guys, the thyroid, I'm going to potentially do some videos where I channel about these things. Maybe that's what we're gonna do in this video. This is maybe an introduction to that. But again, everything's connected. I'm hearing the shin bone's connected to the thyroid bone. And again, it's different for every person because of what we've put into our bodies, because of our genetics, because of our thought patterns, because of our habits and how we move, all of it, right? And so not everything is laid out in a perfect format. And not everything is laid out in a perfect formula. For as you grow and as you activate more and more within you, you are creating that formula that is perfect for you. And so while we share some of the formulas that we have found, or even that this channel has found that have been helpful, it is not to be, I'm just hearing don't be neglectful. Like just do what you need to do and don't necessarily look for answers from everybody else. Start asking yourself, body, what do I need? Um, if you feel like you need to go to the doctor, go to the doctor. If you feel like you need more water, drink more water. If you're not sure, go see a nutritionist. I'm getting goosebumps as I say this. Like I need to drink more water. There is a lot of earth and planetary out of body activities that are happening too. So I'm being called to talk about that. When we go to sleep, we're not just sleeping, okay? We are also going into the ethers, we're going into astral, we're going out of body. There's a lot of things going on that we may not recollect, and that's a play on words, like recollect. When we get back into our body, we have to feed it what it needs. And so oftentimes we're waking up exhausted. I don't know how many of you guys have been experiencing that, but I definitely have days I wake up and I feel like, did I even sleep last night? And I don't remember my dreams all the time. But it could be that I was having an out of body experience and just didn't realize it. Could be that I was astral traveling. So all of those things are relevant because it's happening more and more frequently is what I'm hearing. In addition to that, we may not have been taking the right vitamins that we need. And I'm hearing our supplements might need to change in this time because of how we are processing the foods that we're eating, how we are processing the chemicals that are in the foods that we're eating, and also the quality of water that we're taking into our system. And I'm also being called to remind everybody that if you do not have the proper nutrients, like if your organs aren't able to properly process the vitamins or the nutrients in your body, you may not be able to fully absorb the nutrients. So you might be going along thinking you're doing great, and then you could end up very sick because this nutrients you thought you were taking were just going, excuse the expression, in one end and out the other. So we're really being called, and I've been through this with my adrenals and with my appendix and all this other stuff. So I understand, and especially you guys, the kundalini activations are hot right now. You might feel literally hot right now. You might feel sensations that you're not used to feeling. As that cerebral spinal fluid travels up the spine and starts to ping, 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 activate things, things light up that we're not used to feeling. And so we might need more liver support. We might need more adrenal support, whatever it is. I'm hearing checks and balances. So it really is checking in with ourselves and asking ourselves, am I balanced in my nutrition, my vitamins, my exercise, my sleep? It's a lot of self-care right now, you guys. And even if you are in a place of self-care and you have been deeply caring for your body and its needs, you might be one of those who has mental fatigue because of the things that you are paying attention to or the things that you are choosing not to pay attention to but are still pulling energy from your field. We would invite you to feel in and ask yourself, what might those things be? Are there certain things I have been lending my attention to and I have not gotten or received that energy back? So we invite you, if you are one of those in this current situation, to pull back, oh, I'm getting goosebumps again. Draw your energy back in and reignite or blow through that energy, if you will, and let it go. You can do this through intentional breath work. Um, I'm hearing, I don't remember what breath it is. That's my easiest one. There's names for all these different breaths. If you haven't read the book, I'll have to find it. Um, the problem with having a lot of tools in your toolbox, just going to go off for a tangent for a moment, is you learn a lot of things, but not all of them stick. So I just use whatever I'm intuitively guided to use. But it is helpful for somebody who's very logical and linear, like, well, what breath do I use? If you're trying to relax the nervous system, it's breathing out a long breath out, longer than your inhale. And I like to do that 10 times in a row. I don't feel like there's a set magical number. I think is it Wim Hof has that breathing technique also that is also yogic in nature. So look up yogic breathing. Look up Wim Hof. Maybe I'll do a video on some of these breath practices too. But the key to this is, are you breathing? I always say, take a breath in, take a breath out. Notice how you feel. Are you holding your breath? Is your inhale longer than your exhale or vice versa? Can you get a balanced, even breath and heart coherence? It's 5 counts in, 5 counts out. Inhaling in through the nose, exhaling through the nose or through the mouth. So there's different variations of breath practices and modalities. And so give those modalities a try and see how you feel after each one. And then you can be determine, oh, you know what? That one made me feel really relaxed. Oh, that one made me feel really energized. That one didn't feel good at all. So it's a little bit of be your own advocate and find what helps you get balanced. Some people are going to need fire breath for more energy and release. Other people are going to need to relax their nervous system. So just kind of see where you're at. I'm hearing take your temperature. And so with these things, different people are in different stages of development. It has been spoken of before of the waves of awakening. And this is true to some extent. Some people will awaken everything right now in a very extreme way. Others will take months, if not years, to fully activate, come online, or to feel into what it is we are talking about in this ascension journey, if we wish to call it that. Others are no movements seemingly at all, and the movements of awakening will happen in chunks where they will activate. I'm just being shown like they'll have a massive awakening and then they'll have a lot of time to integrate it. And then all of a sudden they'll go through this version of awakening. So I am being called, I'm hearing the question, what do you mean by awakening? Like, what are you talking about? So most people who are watching this have already seen these videos before, especially if you've gotten this far, you know what I'm talking about. For me, this is evolution, if you want to call it that. Or we could say it's the way we were created, if you're a creationist. I am not diving into any of that. For me, it's about us being a human, having a human experience on the planet Earth, and we are growing, adapting, shifting, which means evolving, changing. That doesn't mean you have to subscribe to the theory of only evolution or creation. I'm just inviting you to recognize that we're growing as a human collective, as human individuals, which means we're going to adapt, right? And from my perspective, some of us were set up coming into this world to adapt faster, to adapt slower, to adapt, um, it's just different variations. So either way, we're all growing, we're all expanding our form, in form. Okay. And so we are being invited to stay in this form, to recognize that you are growing and to support yourself as you are growing. And again, I'm being called to go back to the activations. So it could mean, again, your kundalini. So let's say the energy at the base of your spine, that life force is starting to move, is starting to travel up your spine. And all of a sudden you're feeling these shifts in your body and you're not sure what they are. That isn't just a kundalini awakening. It is evolution. It's a growth. It's part of our birthright. It's something that we all have access to. So as that energy travels up your spine, and I'm not necessarily saying you're having a kundalini awakening, it just means that you're stimulating your cerebral spinal fluid is stimulating all of the body, and things that were dormant in the body are starting to wake up, activate, become aware, and we become self-aware. And this means something different for all of us. It might mean I'm being called, okay, Carrie, give us some examples. It might mean that we are able to understand information that we weren't able to understand before. It might mean that we have clarities and ahas about why we were born into the family we were born into. It might mean that we have a healing experience with a sibling or a spouse or a child very quickly and easily, whereas we had been, let's say, arguing for a long time. It might be it might be that we have an out of body experience and meet galactics in that dimensional field. I mean, it could be anything, you guys. That's happening. It could be that we start having dreams when we didn't ever remember our dreams. It could be that in those dreams, we're talking to loved ones on the other side. It could be that that's happening while we're awake, and that's never happened before. I'm finding that it's all of these things. And oftentimes, the beautiful souls I'm talking with that are having these experiences, well, some of them aren't surprised at all, and some of them aren't really surprised. Most of the time, the people that have dormant gifts, we all have them, have subtle awareness of that dormant gift. If I work with someone and I've recognized they're highly intuitive, like it's already been what they've been using for a long time, they won't necessarily go, what are you talking about? I'm not intuitive at all. Usually they know. They're like, yeah, I kind of sensed, hello, intuition, that I was, I'm intuitive. Or all it takes is one question to get them to go, oh yeah, that's true, right? So what are some things that you kind of thought might be the case? Like, I might actually be a good musician if I tried to learn, or I've always wanted to paint, but I'm not very good at it. Well, you might be surprised, right? You just pick up the brush and all of a sudden you paint something that you thought you could never paint before. It's happening that way. And I know some of you listening are like, okay, Carrie, none of that's happening for me. That's not necessarily true, because some of these magical things as I've always said, are in the mundane. We're just not necessarily fully aware of them yet. Uh, so let go of the expectations on how this needs to look. Let go of thinking that it's not happening to you. From my perspective, it's happening to almost everyone. And when I say almost everyone, if you're watching this video, most likely you're one of those people. There's very few people that would have made it this far in the video and been like, yeah, this isn't happening to me at all, you know? Okay. And if it's not, let's play with that for a minute. If I work with someone, and I have worked with people who don't feel that they're growing, I'm going to go back to what the guides were saying at the beginning of this video, kind of the beginning. Compare and contrast. Really ask yourself, because sometimes I'll give for instance, I get even frustrated with my growth. Like, I could make this faster if I wanted to. And the guides are like, yeah, but you wouldn't have this, or this happen if you would have just jumped and been like the tortoise and the hare story that they were talking about. And that's true. Sometimes I needed to be really slowed down in my journey so that I'll give a couple for instances. When I was at the hospital and I was going through my surgery for the appendicitis, I did everybody's cards, tarot animal card readings. All the nurses came in and got their animal tarot cards read. And then I had a conversation with one of the nurses who flat out, I think I've said this before, but I've got to tell this story again because it's so relevant for right now, for someone listening right now. As I'm laying there berating myself for not listening to my body sooner, for not necessarily following the diet that I should have followed. If I would have done all that, would this have still happened anyways? How long had my appendix been leaking? How could I be an intuitive and not know this? But intuitively, I did know this. And so I'm sharing that as my own personal story because maybe some of you guys are going through that right now. Don't beat yourself up. We're human. Even if we do have superpowers turned on and activated as what's happening in the collective, it doesn't mean we're not going to still fall on our face. But I was able to connect with a beautiful nurse who mentioned that I don't know if she said flat out, I'm not psychic or I'm not intuitive at all. I think that was kind of how the conversation went down. And I started having a conversation with her about, well, you're a nurse, so you must have seen some things that made you question reality. And she started talking about her grandmother. And I'm like, okay. By the time we were done talking, not only did we discover that she was intuitive, she's also able to see people that have passed on to the other side. So she's very likely a medium, also is highly intuitive, and also has dreams that come true. Hello? It just took me laying in a hospital bed pointing that out to her for her to stop and go, oh, yeah, huh, maybe you're right. I've never told anyone these things before. So she'd never talked about it. And in my previous video, I was talking about coming out of the spiritual, well, they call it coming out of the spiritual closet, basically. It's okay to talk about these things. And sometimes my way of talking about them is by asking someone else. I don't have to necessarily say, hey, I'm Carrie, I'm a psychic. How are you? Because then there's a lot of judgment that comes around even the word psychic. They just assume I can read their mind, or, oh, well, how can I, if you were psychic, why are you here? Or how come you haven't won the lottery? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, or I'll get asked weird questions like, I don't know the answer to that. I only use my intuition to help other people and to help myself. And I only have my way of understanding how things aren't necessarily black and white, because that's not how it works for me. So I'm sharing all of this with you guys because I think it's important for us to share our experiences because you guys might be going through something similar. So she walked away having a completely different outlook on things after our interaction. And I was grateful for the experience too. That part of the experience, at least, right? Where was I going to go with that? Oh, so the compare and contrast. So if you're in a place where you don't feel like you're growing or you feel like you're stuck, really be honest with yourself because that might be true, but more than often it's not true. It might be true right now at this moment. And so sometimes if we're stuck, it's only because we need to be still so that we can allow things to integrate, so that we don't burn ourselves out, so we can be patient with the process. Other times it's an illusion. We have a lot of things that have happened, but we're so oftentimes busy focusing on what's next or what hasn't happened that we forget to really compare and contrast and look at, okay, 10 minutes ago I felt this way, 10 minutes now later I feel differently about things. And it's not until we stop and do that from time to time that we recognize and acknowledge. I always use the term raw, RA. So we recognize and acknowledge where we're at. Wow, okay, I do feel different. And that might seem inconsequential or irrelevant for our experience, but it's not. And I'm continuously in conversation with my guidance team, and they're continuously reminding me, Carrie, trust the process. Carrie, you've come a, a long, 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 long way. Um, so I also like to look at, um, I see people when I'm talking with them, and I am amazed at the things they have gone through and how far they've come. But sometimes people won't give themselves the credit. Also, on the flip side, they recognize they've had this incredibly rich life and they've learned so much and they've had so much or they've got all these things, but they're not where they want to be or they're not happy with what they have or they're ready for that next thing. And again, that's where sometimes it's like, well, recognize that things are happening. They just may not be as blatant and loud as we're used to experiencing them. So this is an example of where every person is different. Um, so compare and contrast, I remember, I'll give a for instance again, of when I wanted to be a channel. I wanted to channel badly. I thought, wow, that would be so cool. I saw a Cryon event and I was speaking light language back then. And by the way, that is a form of channeling. We're all channels. It's natural. It's part of our communication system with our angels and our guides that are set up on purpose for our growth and expansion. When someone taps into the field and they come up with a beautiful algorithm or mathematical equation that hasn't been discovered before or a science, scientific creation. Whew, that was a hard one to get out. That where do you think that information comes from? It comes from us in combination with our imaginations, which is in a sense channeling with the um, field that holds all of that information that we can then gain access to because we're putting our system into a higher vibratory space in which we can receive, transmit, and translate that information. So that's something important. I just want to point that out because we really don't give ourselves enough credit. There's plenty of people that give themselves too much credit, but that's not what I'm referring to right now. I'm talking about the people that feel stuck right now or feel like they haven't grown as much as they think they should have grown. And when I say compare and contrast, my guides right now are saying don't compare and contrast yourself to other people necessarily. I mean, sometimes that can be helpful. If we know that somebody's doing something that we'd like to do that would inspire us, that's great. But and that can sometimes help us grow. But sometimes when we do that too much, it actually holds us back, as we know, because it's not necessarily what we're supposed to do, just because they're doing it in that way. Our path might be different. And because we're pigeonholing ourselves into that path, we're missing out on the opportunities for all the other stuff that is in our individual toolbox. I think I'm going to end on that note. That was a lot of juice, I think. So I'll just end there. I really hope someone found this, helpful. Um, and in love and light, guys. Namaste.